Rodney, hello.
Hey Aaron, how are you?
Good, good. So for people that don't know Rodney, you've been on a lot of our calls before, and today my partner in crime, Jill Blake, is actually at a swim meet. Her daughter is competing. It's actually really exciting, so we're rooting for her and hoping she does extremely well. But and then I'm leaving town tomorrow, ironically, to go to DC, which is near where you live,
Hmm.
and we're gonna hang. How
Yeah,
cool is that?
pretty awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm about an hour from DC, 45 minutes in Frederick. So
Yeah, so thanks for making the trip in. We'll be staying actually by the White House, and like nothing is really happening near the White House right
yeah,
now.
no,
Nothing at all. Yeah, it's a pretty
no.
boring time to go.
Yeah,
No, we planned this before, before the political, I don't know, what do you call it, but turmoil. But DC.
catastrophe maybe. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, but I don't think it's going to spill out into the streets. In fact, I think if anything, people will be more on guard for any. I might see some protest actually. Do you think?
yeah, I think so.
Maybe, okay. But yeah, we're gonna go to a linguistic museum, I think. So and do some other things. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for this, we're here to talk. Well, we're actually here to talk about A24 and the A24 New Wave, and we'll get into that in a second. But wanted to start just by, I think it's always fun by talking about our hauls, like what we've got lately. And I have a, s- a very small stack, but a stack nonetheless. So, uh, what do you have?
Yeah, I have so I only picked up one thing so far from the Barnes and Noble sale. I'm not sure if you can.
Yeah, the backgrounds. I can
Yeah,
see it. I
yeah, Days of Heaven 4K, which I was so excited about because I missed out on the Blu-ray when it went out of print. And so I said that's the first one I'm going to get when the sale comes back. That
nice,
and I'm
nice.
waiting for Lay Samurai. I haven't gotten that yet, but I'll probably get that before the end of the sale.
I think that'll look really good on 4K. And by the way, your background is Good Time, right?
Yep.
Um, that looks like Eminem, but I know it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, Robert
Uh,
Pattinson. He's running
that's
some.
that's right. Yeah. Well, he just has an album out, so I don't know if it's Sh Slim Shady or Marshall Mathers, but it's none of the above. It's Robert
Yeah.
Pattinson.
There
Of
you
course,
go.
mine, I'll move Poor Things. So Poor Things was A24, wasn't it?
I
Or
think so.
no? Okay, yeah. So yeah. So we'll hold that thought. But okay, I have a few things. Hopefully, I'm actually going to just turn off my background for a second. So because yeah, Zoom and background, I need to get a green screen. So, but they're not cheap. Okay, well here I don't want you to see my kitchen, even though it's fine. Okay, we have perfect days. These are
Nice.
mostly I'd already done I'd already gone to Barnes and Noble and purchased some things. So these are just the stuff I ordered. Um, you get rewards, so it's a nice incentive to keep buying through there. And I got this one, which I'm really looking forward to. Black God, White Devil, uh, filmed by Glauber Rocha. I'm probably butchering that. Actually, a Brazilian friend of mine knows of him and spoke highly. I don't know if he's seen the specific one, but I think at least knows it by reputation. And
Mhm.
he said that he thinks it will be up my alley. Um, this one actually we've talked about.
Oh yeah.
So I think that it's kind of Tarantino's kind of funny in that, I think he obviously he influenced most of the 90s as far as cinema and a lot of the early aughts, but he's almost had two careers.
Mhm.
And I think like his second career is now influencing modern filmmakers, which is cool, and still his first career. But a lot of his early stuff gets a little maligned, I think. And so we were talking one time, you probably remember, and I was like, I have a 4K of Pulp Fiction. I'm going to put it in. Turned out I didn't. I had a Blu-ray, and
Oh,
I found it, and I was like, oh, it's from 2009. So this was on sale for Prime Day. So
that's
I
awesome.
decided to just splurge.
Yeah, I feel like he did a lot of crime films, and now he's sort of moving to like this revisionist history with
Yeah.
Django and Once Upon a Time. And I love all his work, but I do love to see the progression. I think he hasn't been better, with Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, I think he hit a little bit of a rut with I think Grindhouse actually, even though I love the concept, his Death Proof was I thought it was a little too dialogue heavy
Mhm.
and then with the Western uh
Django.
no, the other Western
Oh,
with
Hateful Eight.
Jennifer's Hateful Eight, Hateful Eight. Um, I have not watched the long version. I do like Hateful Eight, but the thing is, I think sometimes he is his own worst enemy as far as dialogue. Like
Mhm.
there was too much dialogue in Hateful Eight. I still loved it because I still love the characters. I would maybe not loved it, but compared to others. But Inglourious
Goggins is so
Bastards,
good in that too.
yeah. Inglourious Bastards, Once Upon a Time, and
Mhm.
he's doing his last movie. It was going to be the Pauline Kael, but
Mhm.
it's I guess that didn't work out, so he's going back to square one. So I think it's weird that he's like ending his career, but he did write a book, and I know he has a podcast, Cinema Speculation. Have you listened to any of that or?
I haven't listened to much of his podcast, but I did read Cinema Speculation. It was great. I
Okay.
loved reading his takes on that, and it was a lot of '70s cinema too. So it was really
Mhm.
cool to hear how he grew up, and he was, his parents just brought him along to the movies. Like it's like we can give you a babysitter, or we can just take you with us if you're gonna sit down and shut up. So that's kind
Yeah.
of where he put his teeth with all those films, double
Uh,
features.
Double features, yeah. Sometimes he says weird things, and
Mhm.
hey, let's be fair. He's a weird dude. I
Yeah.
think even he would admit that. I don't want to get into the feet thing, but
Mhm.
that appears appears to be smoke where there's fire, but it's really
Yeah.
none of my business. I don't really care. But I think I would actually like to do a journey of Tarantino films, just because I think that looking at them, and I mean, of course, anybody can watch all of Tarantino films,
Mhm.
but looking at them in context, maybe like a early Tarantino, and then like I mean, because there's only not even 10 films yet. So, anyway,
Yeah.
more to come on that. We did talk about Reservoir Dogs as something.
Yeah,
Uh,
one room, film that just takes
oh
place in one place.
yeah,
I think that an Elmer Leonard, double feature journey, with Out of Sight and Jackie Brown would be a great pair.
yeah. Yeah, I love Jackie Brown, by the way. And I need to look at Out of Sight is on the channel. I haven't seen it since it
Mhm.
came out, so I need to give that another look. I have more. What am I talking about? I was about to put my background on. So it's again Prime Day. I did pick up
Nice.
this puppy. I do have the first one already, so this is the second one. So yeah, this Hitchcock guy, I think he's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, Saboteur,
Shadow
Shadow
of
of a
the Doubt.
Doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trouble with Harry. I don't know which one. Yeah, yeah, Trouble. Probably the '50s one. Marnie. I do like Marnie a lot, and not a lot, but I like Marnie. And Family Plot is okay. So yeah, this
Mhm.
is not the creme de la
I think
creme.
Shadow of the Doubt would be probably the best of that bunch.
Yeah, or maybe Saboteur.
Mhm.
The thing is, really, even I don't want to say mid Hitchcock, but like even his worst is still pretty darn
Good,
good.
yeah.
So the other one is the other
Oh man, I'm a,
collection.
I'm a big Rope fan.
Yeah, Rope. So speaking of one location, Rope is
Mhm.
it's not technically one take. I think there were two cuts if I remember.
Mhm.
The Man Who Knew Too Much. I
Is that both? Is
imagine
that both, or just the one? The Man
I
Who Knew
don't
Too
know.
Much.
I would think probably the later one. I think that's generally what the studios do.
Okay.
Then some late work and Torn Curtain, Topaz, and Frenzy. Of course, we're doing in September, not too far from now. We're doing Classic Suspense, and Frenzy is on our list. So
And I
um,
haven't seen it, so I'm excited to visit that.
nice. I mean, his late work it's still Hitchcock. It's still good, but it's not 50s, 60s, or even his British period. So okay, well, let me put my background back on. Feels like I'm putting my clothes on. I have to find Poor Things again. Here it is. Okay. So, A24, or AAA 24. Have you seen their membership?
I have seen it, yeah, and I haven't. gone ahead and purchased it yet. It's more like if you want to buy things from their store, I think you get like discounts and stuff like that. They do have like limited some engagements you get, like Maxine was on there that you get a free screener of that.
Hmm.
But no, I haven't. Have you?
I haven't. No, I mean, I think it's like a Patreon of like 5 minutes, $5 a month. Um,
Mhm.
I got to take this call. Do you want to riff a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello.
Yeah, so I'd be interested in the A24 triple A24 just because of the kind of
Oh.
content that they put out and the cool mementos that go with their films. The Talk to Me hand that they had, the little Marcel with shoes on.
Hmm.
It's been so cool to see their sort of tie-ins to their films.
Yeah, yeah. I love their releases. Stop Making Sense is one that we recently picked up. And by the way, sorry for taking that call. Hopefully
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was thank you for riffing for a second. But
no problem.
I'm going out of town tomorrow. Well, as you know, we just talked about. So I have to like, in case it's a doctor or something important, have to take calls. So but it was they were trying to sell me resorts. I told them I'm on a call. Thank you very much. Um, I was polite. So I before we get into the A24 stuff, have you I know you're building a movie room. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so we have an unfinished basement, and we had kind of determined what we wanted to do with that space, and we kind of want to make a theater room downstairs. So we already started putting in the metal studs, and we're gonna get the drive all up. But I have friends of mine who really know about audio and video, high end things. So they got me on Crutchfield. I brought a AV receiver that I'm going to put down there for Dolby Atmos. Because things aren't built yet, I can run wires. We have wires run for Atmos and where all the speakers are going to be, and I'm really excited for that. And then to bring my 4K down there and put it up with the audio
It's
to just make
nice.
a really awesome film room.
Wires. Where we're going, we don't need wires.
Right.
Yeah, Rodney's got wires. No, I've seen other projects for home theater. In fact, my dad was at one point, I think he did actually complete a home theater of some sort, but it turned out to be a projection TV, and it's still very nice. It's a very large screen, so you can have a big group. It's so large that my hands were outside of my my video. That's how large it was. But you can go crazy with that with like movie theater chairs and popcorn machines. So yeah, but of course, money, money.
Yeah, and I'm really looking at it as a minimalist thing. Like we thought about, putting up posters with, glow boxes behind it, and but we really want just something simple to not take away from the picture, the sound. But what's wild is the audio component is so much more expensive than the video
Mhm.
component.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna piecemeal it. So I have a center channel and that AV receiver. Then I'll probably get a sub in a couple months, and
Hmm.
then build it out the rest. So that way, just add on to it as it goes along. So
Well, confession to make. Um, I'm very underwhelming as far as the audio goes because I mean we have a nice house, very happy with our house, but the thing is, if I play it too loud, you know, Andrea might be my wife. Andrea might be asleep, um, and then I do have I call it a man cave. It's really just a spare bedroom, and
mhm.
it has some discs, but it doesn't have all the discs, just some. And then it has a smaller TV, and by smaller, it's like 55 or something. But because there's a recliner, it's like very close to the TV. It's a little more immersive, but I've gotten away from using that because I don't know why. But we did try to put a sound bar in the on the big TV downstairs. But we have a house that has one of those little I want to say uh like gaps
Mhm.
or really we have a cabinet, I guess you could call it, where it was designed for those TVs from like 20 years ago.
Yeah, like
Um,
an entertainment stand almost.
Entertainment, yeah. Because even 20 years ago, people could not envision TVs, and of course, TVs not having a like that big butt.
Yeah.
So, um, They couldn't
And now
envision
people,
flat
they
screens.
hang them on the wall, instead of having that sitting anywhere.
So
So,
that's exactly what we did. And someday maybe I'll show pictures, but we actually have we had to put wood on the actual I'm calling it a cabinet. It doesn't have doors or anything, but it goes, it's kind of like a mini cabinet. So we have boards over that, and we have the TV mounted to that.
oh,
But the
cool.
thing is, and we have the Blu-ray players below that, and we tried to put a sound bar, and it's just the design of the room. The sound bar was blocking the Blu-ray, so
Hmm.
the remote, so I
Yeah, it
couldn't.
didn't work.
It's pretty important, and also, I just, yeah, sure, it's better, but I didn't need it. I don't. I think the TV has pretty good audio on its own, so and most
Great.
TVs do, so I,
Mhm.
I dealt with that. But anyway, I digress. So okay, yeah, I did make a joke about the AAA 24. They call it AAA 24, and it was on the Discord. It was on actually Disconnected's Discord, which that's Ryan Verrill. That's
Mhm.
where we did the interview.
Yeah, that
And in
was a
fact,
great interview.
yeah. So we had some fun with AAA 24, and I think I made a joke. It went over pretty well that like talking about AAA and A24, and I was like, okay, I'm in a Swedish village and I'm seeing things. Can I get a tow? And and or hey, AAA 24, can I get a tow? And you could take that in a lot of directions, but yeah, so it seems like a Patreon, like it's $5 a month, but the rewards are like quarterly or when they have a release. So
I
I'm
think you
not
get a
sure.
magazine too, like once a
Yeah,
month. I think that I'm not sure what's in that or if there's interviews, um,
yeah.
the things. So,
I mean, I'll give them a lot of credit. They're doing really interesting things with their brand, and I think let's dive into that. Um, in this, I'm going to put this on the website and on the YouTube channel as well. But I'll go ahead and publish the old interview. So back when we were doing award season, we were looking at a lot of these new films. So Poor Things here,
mhm.
and Mark Hurne and I had a video. Now, Mark, we've gone back a long ways, but sorry, Mark, you didn't get to talk a whole lot. He was more of a sounding board for just an idea I had, and it's probably not like a brilliant idea that nobody else has had. It's just a conversation about
Right.
the state of things. But it's 2024. Yeah, actually, conveniently. Um, and A24 has found, I want to say a niche, but like a mainstream niche. So they've gotten films to theaters, and they've gotten given some directors some opportunities, and I think they're very friendly to directors, give them a lot of creativity. They have to make money; they're a business.
Yeah.
So we talked through through that, and my recollection is he thought that held water, was a reasonable take. So I don't know if you remember the video. I'm not going to ask you to take a test, but
Yeah, yeah.
what'd you
I
think?
don't remember everything about it, but I remember just hearing you talk about A24 and the new wave and sort of where it's going. And then, what we were going to talk about today with horror and how it's kind of changed
Hmm.
and made horror almost like an art house feel. Especially with like Ari Aster and Robert Eggers, just to name a couple. But
Yeah, well, first off, how dare you not take notes on every video and podcast we've had? I'm just kidding. No, I don't remember it either. So, in fact, it could be terrible. It's going to be live on our YouTube channel. I
Mhm.
guess subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I'll embed it in the website, so it'll be free to everybody. Um, I could have been completely off base. I don't know. We're allowed to these
Yeah.
things, but I'm going to go ahead and share
Yeah, and,
some.
and I just wanted to say too that A24 has a lot of credibility with, they won everything all everywhere all at once, won Best Picture. So now they're not just, they've won some big awards. So they uh they have a
Yeah,
lot of street cred, as they say.
well, right behind me, Poor Things.
Mhm.
I'm gonna Google Poor Things A24. I mean, we have their website pulled up, but was wasn't made by A24.
Oh,
But that's the thing, and I do remember that came up with Mark
but it
is
feels
that
like it, that it feels
yeah.
like that kind of style. And I feel like films wouldn't go like a lot of Lanthimos's films are A24. So before
Hmm.
those, the Lobster, Killing of a Sacred Deer, and it's kind of horror has gone that route, and maybe A24 has kind of helped that, or at least given voices
Mhm.
to filmmakers to be able to shift in that way.
And that's where yeah, we weren't, I mean, the A24 New Wave, we weren't saying it has to be A24. I mean, there are lots of labels. And in fact, Sean Baker, he has his new film, he won Cannes for his new film, uh, uh, Honora.
Mhm.
That is Rialto. So, it's not that filmmakers don't have to work with A24, but I think that, they have definitely, just based on their strategy or their love of artists. They've put them more in the mainstream. So we are looking to talk about horror today. So I'll just scroll through a few of their films.
Mhm.
This is just from their website. So A Ghost Story, David Lowery,
Great.
that wow, 2017. That feels like forever ago. And again, 20th Century Women is a great film and highly recommended, but we're
Yeah, I
not going to
haven't seen that. I do want to see that.
After Yang is
Solid.
yeah,
Did you
American
see
Honey.
After Sun yet?
I haven't actually. I was gonna
Oh my
watch it.
goodness.
That was like the big one I hadn't seen.
It's
So,
so
but
good.
Beau's Afraid. I'm love me some Beau's Afraid. I'm sure you've seen it. Are you
Mhm.
with me there?
I love two-thirds of it, right? So I love everything up until, and I don't want to ruin anything, but that last third, I'm like, I don't know,
Uh,
it doesn't sell out, but it feels like another film. But that
yeah,
beginning is just, I mean, so stressful when he's trying to
yeah.
get his apartment, and I mean, he's great in it, you know. Joaquin Phoenix is just phenomenal.
Yeah, the first 45 minutes or so is really really solid. So yeah, that's great. I haven't seen Bodies, and I've kind of heard mixed things, so I'm not sure if I'll get around
Yeah,
to it. Have you seen
I
it?
didn't care for it. Now the ending was I thought was really unique, but it's a horror movie about these college kids, and I didn't want any of them to win, so that wasn't, you know, uh, a good one for me. But
Okay, this is a weird thing with their website. So when I click on the movie, it appears above. So we'll see. I just watched Civil War this week, actually. It's not a well, I mean, I guess you could say it's a horror. It's like if Come and See is a horror, this is maybe a little bit of a
yeah,
horror of war, Civil War.
well, Jesse Plemons is definitely horrific in it.
Yes, yeah. I smile because I can't. That's my cringe smile is what you just saw. Yeah, he is something in that. I thought it was pretty good. I know there's some people have some qualms about I guess kind of what it was saying. Um, I, Dream Scenario I don't believe is a horror. I do want to see that. That was kind of one of those.
Yeah, that looked really cool.
Yeah,
Just the
I've heard.
concept alone was really kind of like an Inception, but with, he's in all these people's dreams, and they know that he's in
Right.
their dreams.
Um, so Enemy is not really a horror, but I think
Mhm.
that's one of the early films.
Yeah.
Of course, when we talk about mainstream, and this is not horror. Well, I guess there's a little bit of horror, or with Jamie Lee Curtis and all that. But Everything Everywhere All at Once, definitely the most successful. I think that's probably pretty. I mean, it won the Oscars.
Mhm.
So yeah, First Reformed is a great film. Speaking of which, hold that thought with Paul Schrader, because I want to talk about Paul Schrader's take. Here's Good
Big
Time.
time.
Uh,
Absolutely
the
love it.
yeah, so the Safdies, uh, not a horror, but all of their. That's one thing. Like you're gonna the chances of watching an A24 and cringing are pretty high, no matter
Yeah.
what film. Green Room,
Love Green Room. And I would
definitely.
classify that as horror.
Definitely, and Hereditary for sure.
Mhm.
So this is brand new. I still haven't seen this one yet. I've heard from some people really good things.
Yeah,
S-
Joe really liked it, so that made
Yeah,
me really want to see it. I don't know really much about it, but I do hear that
same.
and see that on a lot of lists for best films of this year so far.
I've also seen, now that's one thing that is, and I think you won't disagree with this, but sometimes A24 films, especially among like modern cinephiles, can get a little overhyped.
Mhm.
And I so sometimes when like Long Legs, for example, I don't know if that's A24. I think it is actually Lady Bird,
Yeah.
of course.
I
Uh,
also want to highlight Krisha is excellent if you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it, so yeah. Okay, yeah. Long Legs is not. Is Love Lives. I haven't. I've heard great things about Love Lives
Mhm.
Bleeding. That's probably. I know it's on VOD for rental and buy, but I don't know if it's like streaming anywhere. Marcel the Shell is definitely not horror. Maxine. So Ty West, I think, is a great example of this A24 New Wave. Although it seems like people were a little mixed on Maxine
Mhm.
compared to X and Pearl. What were your thoughts, or have you seen it yet?
I haven't seen Maxine yet, but I
Okay.
really liked X, and I really liked Pearl for Mia Goth's performance. Like I didn't think it was as strong as X, but I
Hmm.
thought, wow, that ending credit scene of her is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, Pearl was a it's definitely a horror. Most definitely a horror, but different aesthetic, different I don't you really have to even though it's a prequel, you really have to watch X first
Mhm.
and basically there's a an element of Mia Goth's performance in X that is moved forward in Pearl, which I think that's one of my favorite parts of X. And of course
And I'm
X
and I'm curious to see what the connection is going to be in Maxine because it seems like that's,
same.
in a different, it's a different style of film even from those other two.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll say about those two without spoiling is they're very much shot in the in the spirit of their time. So X is kind of like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, maybe like a little grittier, and
Mhm.
then Pearl is kind of like a melodrama, but also a little grittier, but different kind of grit. So of course, Midsummer is
Oh,
prob
fantastic.
yeah, I it's divisive. Not
Mhm.
everybody loves it, but yeah, I think it's probably among my favorites. I can't. I've watched this the director's cut. I think I've watched this 4 or 5 times already since it came out. So when is that? 2019.
Mhm.
And I feel like I'm due to watch it again. So yeah, this is my this is my thing. It's
Well,
my
he
Shia.
made, sunlight horrifying. Like the whole movie's
Yeah.
in just drenching sunlight and you're, on the edge of your seat.
Hey, fair enough. It is a beautiful day in Sweden. Gorgeous weather. So if you're going by weather, it's a lovely film. Of course, Moonlight.
Moonlight.
Moonlight,
Oh man.
yeah, between Moonlight and Everywhere, that those, might be the most
Mhm.
successful. I'm not talking about box office. What's interesting is seeing some of these older films, like Obvious Child is a comedy, but I did like that a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pat,
Did you see Minari?
I did. Yeah, well, I very much like
Yeah,
Minari.
I thought that was good. And he's doing Twisters. So I wasn't interested in seeing Twisters other than Glenn Powell. And then I noticed that the guy who did Minari is doing it. So it made me think, maybe I'll go check it out.
Yeah, the one thing I love Bill Paxton, RIP. That was a tough loss, but yeah, I think if I love me some Glenn Powell too. Really excited to see his career grow.
Sorry.
Um, no, you're good. So Pi here is listed as
Hmm.
2023, so that's an Aronofsky.
Yeah, I guess that's a remaster.
That's the reissue remaster. I might have ordered it. I don't know. I mean, it won't tell me here, but yeah, interesting. I think it's a great movie, but
Hmm.
it's not a good movie for when you're stressed.
No.
Interesting, they pair it with The Whale. Okay, so
And that
here's
was
Sean.
when, I really loved Aronofsky. So,
Mhm.
before I haven't seen The Whale. And I
Oh
like The
yeah,
Wrestler, but Noah and The Fountain, they just didn't work
right,
for me.
right. I know we talked about it. Have you seen Saint Maud yet?
No, that's probably the next one to go on the player. I
This is
really
one of
want to
my
see that.
favorites of A24's horrors. It kind of felt like it got I think it was a pandemic casualty because
Mhm.
like I think they wanted to release it in 2020. I could be mistaken. So I don't think it had been released, and I bought a Blu-ray of it that it might have been overseas. I forget. And I think I didn't watch it until like a couple years later. But
It looks
yeah,
horrifying. Like it looks absolutely terrifying.
I don't want to say too much because I don't want to. I'll just say that it navigates, religion and horror in a very exceptional way. It might maybe the best way. So
So you're saying it's
oh,
no Exorcist believer.
it's not. No, The Exorcist is in that conversation too, but different. So that's why I would say I don't want to spoil Saint Maud for anybody, but I would highly recommend it. And hopefully we can reconvene when you've seen it. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's a lot of films. I'm just kind of scrolling here. Here's good old Harmony Korine.
Yeah, it's one of the
Uh,
first ones, I think, for A24.
yeah, early one, and I know we'll be talking about the criterion for Gummo,
Mhm.
which is it's going to be an interesting conversation. I happen to like Spring Breakers. I mean, it's probably horror for anybody that showed up to the movie theater expecting bikinis and
Right.
all that.
And a comedy with James Franco, like
Exactly. I mean, it has some of that, but yeah, I think I remember the user score on that just plummeting, and I was just I was there for it. I thought it was a good movie. But
yeah, I have not seen that, but I want to.
there's Stop Making Sense. Definitely not a horror. Very entertaining movie.
Yeah, excellent.
Swiss Army Man is a weird one, and then Talk to Me. You already mentioned. Uh, That's Australian.
Yeah.
I was actually I love the high concept horrors. I don't know if I'd call that a high concept, would you? I mean, it's a new
Um,
concept, kind of
I
a
think yeah,
different.
I think it's just a unique spin on possession and just how they handle that.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
was a big fan of Talk to Me. That was one of my favorite films of last year.
yeah. I really liked it too. So yeah, the thing
And
as
then
we
you
scroll
have
through here.
The Blackcoat's Daughter, which was Osgood
Oh,
Perkins'
right,
last
yeah.
film. So I'm curious to see that but Longlegs is getting, very mixed reviews too.
Yeah, so that's where the hype. So actually, we'll hold that thought on Long Legs. I haven't seen it yet. I'll see it soon. So yeah, here we're going through the does. So yeah,
Florida
of course,
Project.
Florida
Yeah.
Project. I love the Green Knight.
Me too.
The
Yeah.
Iron Claw was really good. Here's Lanthimos, Killing of a
Yes.
Sacred Deer. It's not horror, but I love The Last Black Man
Hmm.
in San Francisco.
Great movie.
Lighthouse, I,
Love it.
and The Lobster. I don't think these are horror, but they're weird. I
They
guess The
are weird.
Lighthouse maybe a little more. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
that's more just like cabin feverish almost because they're just
right.
stuck together. But Willem Dafoe in that movie is just batshit
Yeah.
crazy.
You like a lobster? We have a t-shirt. I might bring it to DC. Look,
Awesome.
have to see where it's at. Of course, not horror at all, but I love both souvenir movies. I actually love Spectacular Now. That was
Yeah,
a
it's
very
great
early
too.
one. Yeah.
Is Miles
Uh,
Teller in that?
he is, yeah. So that
Yes.
was
Oh yeah.
right
Really
about
good.
when he was kind of start it was right before Whiplash, actually. So I actually had more respect for him from this than although he yeah, I'm a drummer or a former drummer, so I do love me some Whiplash. One of the OGs, The Witch, I know
Tell
it's
you what, man,
2016.
that
Yeah.
movie, you will not forget that.
I have the second side edition
Oh,
and
that's so awesome.
I know. I've been waiting for the day to unwrap that plastic. Day's probably coming soon. So we're getting towards the end here. Of course, Uncut Gems is on Criterion. I
See, I
really like.
find Tusk odd in that
Okay,
group. That's horror
yeah,
too. So,
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's Kevin Smith, right?
mhm,
Yeah, I just saw Red State, which is a different kind of horror.
mhm,
Yeah, Kevin Smith's late career has been interesting.
mhm.
You know, I think people can be critical of all his career, but I think he's had some good work. I do like
And he was really a
Clerks.
gateway for me to,
Hmm.
for indie cinema. When I would watch Clerks and Chasing Amy, like I still love that. Now I haven't revisited to see if it still, holds up.
Yeah.
Um, but Dogma, I hear we're getting a 4K of that, so that's very exciting.
Yeah, that's a fun movie. You get Alanis Morissette as God.
There you go.
So I do like Under the Silver Lake. That movie kind of felt like it was slept on a little bit.
Mhm.
Didn't get as much
Yeah, I liked
exposure.
it. Under the
And
Skin
then
is another one that
yeah, I guess that yeah, that it's another here's X. Another art horror. Like I like how the boundaries between the horror genre and art cinema, like with Under the Skin, that was Glazer, wasn't it?
yes, and just the
Yeah,
way that it showed how she would kill her prey was so
right.
unique than anything that I had seen in that kind of genre.
I want to say that also had a second site that I don't have. So I could be mistaken. I'll just go to their website. We can do that. Because Second Sight Films, well, they put out It Follows. We'll look at their 4Ks, 4K horror. Here you go. So, okay, of course, some old school stuff.
Hmm.
Crimes of the Future, I have not seen, but I've heard
Yeah, me neither.
mixed things. They do go out of print. So, if you want one of
Yes.
these, I would recommend you get it.
Yeah, so I
Uh,
got the drive set, and then that went go.
right.
So you and Jill were talking about it on one of your podcasts, and I was like, I got to get this, and I'm glad I did because it's not you can't get it.
Yeah, and we programmed it for a journey, and I watched that set. So
Same.
now I want to sell it because it's probably highest value. High tension, I could see high tension being high tension, kind of like a precursor to some of the
Mhm.
A24. I mean, it's very shocking
Visceral.
horror,
Yeah,
visceral, yeah. And It Follows, I think, is a
love that
peripheral.
movie.
I
Really
do
love
too.
it.
Yeah, I do have this one. Not this one, but this one.
And I
It's
think
not
I think
out of
horror
print.
works the best too when it's not in your face and it's not overly like when they just set the
Same.
mood and the tone. Like that's what I love about that.
Same, and I think we had a period in the 80s, 90s, the slasher films. I think there was some. I like Candyman, for example. I guess that's technically a slasher film, but they were getting a little stale. I mean, come on, how many Freddy, Jason,
Right.
Halloweens? I mean, I know that there are good films in there. Um, Here at the Babadook, I think
Love
is
it.
me too.
And that's another
Sorry.
example, of a horror film that does not rely on, over the top gore. It's just completely unsettling, and it has a lot to say about grief and loss, and just raising a kid when you've lost, your husband or your wife.
Yeah, I strongly suggested to Jill that she not watch that until her kid is a certain
Yeah.
age because,
Mhm.
I don't know about she's a thick skin. I think she could handle it, but still. Of course, Martin, this was a limited edition 4K. Is this still in print? Surprised.
Oh, no, and I've never heard of it.
It's George Martin. So it's
Okay.
yeah, I do have this. Or George Romero. I said George Martin. Big difference. Um, yeah, it's an interesting movie. I guess is this the
Was it
limit? Yeah, I guess
was
so.
that the
So
one that the Romero film that was like found? I can't remember which one that was that recently was released.
yeah, I think this was it. Now I have it and I've watched this, but I haven't really dived into as you can see, the audio commentaries
Oh
are
wow.
kind of overwhelming. So
Yeah.
like I'll probably watch one of them. Maybe maybe I don't know Travis Crawford, but maybe Cat Ellinger, just because
Mhm.
I know that's going to be a recent one. But the one thing about these is they put a lot of great supplements. So hold that thought.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
this
There's your
baby,
witch.
well, I was talking about Texas Chainsaw
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Massacre. I do have this. This one is something. So on the Shelf Shock Awards, if you've heard of that, look at all
Mhm.
these commentaries.
Wow.
I really wish Criterion would do more. They've gotten away from it, but the fact that all these others are hiring really interesting people.
Hmm.
So yeah, Amanda Reyes and Bill Ackerman here is the new one. So I trying to remember if I did watch one of those. So I'm kind of flirting. I don't know if I'm going to sell that or not, but yeah, here's the
That's a
witch.
great set.
Let me
And a
look
great,
at this one.
Texas Chainsaws is
Mhm.
classic and just unsettling horror. Like it's great.
Yeah, and very, very unsettling.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was weird to rewatch that. And but that's a film. So speaking of slasher films, I mean, I guess that's kind of a slasher film,
Mhm.
um, but kind of not. But I could see that as being a really big influence on the modern, what we're calling the new wave.
Yeah.
So okay, so yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy in this,
Oh my
this
goodness.
breakthrough role, and now she's a star. So new audio commentary. I don't think yeah, no, I actually haven't, like I said, I haven't unwrapped the plastic, but this is quite a an
Yeah,
edition. Yeah.
and look at that. It had a, like 150-page hard book. I don't know if that was just essays or photos or something, but what a cool
hmm
release.
And was just announced. You're next. This is one I haven't seen yet, so
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
I don't know if it's okay. Interesting. They have Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett doing a commentary. So I guess they directed the movie. So interesting. Um, really quick. I don't want to just it's not all seconds site, but I just want to scroll through just their other releases. So we
Mhm.
talked about Green Room. I'm going to scroll a little faster here just to get through. There's 9 pages.
Yeah.
May is a good one.
Haven't seen that.
Oh, well, yeah, highly recommend May. Changeling is an older one. Revenge is a good one. I would say Revenge would fall into the new wave. I actually do have the limited edition of that.
Oh, nice.
Um, it's really really good. Um, there's Raw. If so,
Raw,
yeah,
so oh man, so good.
Raw. Yeah,
But
I'm
it's
just
rough.
gonna.
It's hard.
It's a
It's
rough
hard. You
one.
have to be in a certain, just a certain mindset to be able to stomach it for, no pun.
Yeah. The guest, I actually have this and I've wanted to see it, but I so it's out of print
Yeah, I haven't
now,
seen
but
that.
uh I think that one's more of a thriller than a horror. I haven't seen Lake Mungo. I think I missed the boat on that one.
Hmm.
Paranormal Activity, I think that's not really
Yeah.
uh the in this conversation. Here's Revenge out of print. It's the one I
Mhm.
have. So let's see, Under the Shadow. I'm almost done here. And I'm going to look at Letterbox and then we'll wrap this up. I don't know how
Cool.
long we've been going here, but good conversation,
Yeah,
Rodney.
absolutely. Yeah, thanks.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh, there's t more Texas Chainsaw. Okay, yeah. We're pretty much done. Let's look at Letterboxd here. So, okay, we have look here, the top two popular with
There it
friends,
is.
and yeah, and look at number four. I think I haven't seen Kinds of Kindness, but I don't know how horrific it is, but I think Annie Lanthimos, like when I've heard this is more like old school Lanthimos.
Like
Uh,
Dogtooth.
yeah, or Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Mhm.
I don't think of Poor Things as like mainstream, but it did win awards. I
Yeah.
guess for
I would
relative.
say the favorite is probably his most mainstream. Like if I was
Yeah.
gonna get somebody into, if they even remotely want to watch a Lanthimos, I would say the favorite. Um, how do
Yeah,
you feel about anthology films? Like, do you
I
feel
like them.
like, okay.
I like them. I've heard about The Beast. Is this a horror? I've heard
No,
this.
that's on my list, and it hits the
Okay.
channel on the 28th. They're actually live
Oh, great.
streaming, on the 28th. So,
Great. So you can see here. So Perfect Days, as we mentioned before, definitely not a horror. But one thing I like about, yeah, this is my letterbox. And actually, let me just, while we're here, I can spell it. Just look at
yeah,
Sin and Journeys. Actually, we'll probably put this up here. Oh, we need more followers. So yeah, I think it's looking pretty cool.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So stories, yeah, it does. Oh, there's the Cohen thing.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
I will put this on there. So this is me. So yeah, my on early old school message boards, my nickname was Dissent because I firmly believe that dissent, is a human right, and I think it's good to disagree, but it probably makes me seem disagreeable, and I
Mhm.
hope you.
Or that you really like the cave movie, The Descent.
I do actually like that movie.
That's
Now,
good.
it's very claustrophobic.
Mhm.
So I shortened it to DSNT, so that's where that comes from. So
It
that's
could
my
be a
world.
Ruth
So
Bader Ginsburg, throwback.
could be, it's not, yeah. So long legs we talked about. So I that's one that the so this is where the hype can, I think, be a double-edged sword because I
Mhm.
think the hype for this was crazy. I'm just gonna look at I
Yeah, and they
haven't
even
seen.
had a trailer with the main actress. They like
Mhm.
set up like a heart, just like to monitor a heartbeat when she saw Nick Cage for the first time. Um,
Yeah, so for 3.6, that's not, and I'll just look at, actually, I'll just look at some of well, yeah, so popular review, if the second highest popular review, um, I expected, but there was way more Bill Clinton screen time. Okay, well, that might be a different horror for different people.
Downloaded the wrong movie. That's
The, this one shit himself and felt it running down his long legs. So I don't know what to expect. Yeah, this is going to be a VOD probably day one. Um, yeah,
I hear Nick Cage is
here,
great in it. So like
see
I'm
what
excited to see it just to see what he does with it. And
I like. Spaghetti is what he's called. So I like him on Letterboxd. So I'm going to like this review whether I read it or not. So I'll revisit it after I've seen it. But so yeah, let's go to the films. So yeah, I do like this feature of Letterboxd. You can
mm,
kind of look at modern films. Now, I will just share that I see the grayed out ones are the ones I've seen. So,
mhm.
I haven't seen some of these big pictures yet. But
Yeah, I
in
still need
fact,
to catch up with Challengers. Did you like that?
uh, I liked some of it. I liked the score a lot, the Trent Reznor. Um,
Oh,
I-
love him.
this is a digression, but I'm a massive tennis fan. People will that might surprise people. Like Wimbledon just finished, and I watched as much as possible.
Nice.
So and then the U.S. Open is coming up in about a month or two. Yeah, about a month or so, I think.
Mm,
So I'll be glued to my TV for that. So I kind of get into the tennis thing.
mhm.
Um, so I liked it and didn't like it because of that. Didn't like some things. Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Um, Love Lies Bleeding, Baby
Mhm.
Reindeer, of course, is a TV show. But here,
Yeah,
I
and you can
saw the
search
glow.
by film too. Like if you go up in the settings,
Yep.
you do film, but
Here, let me sort by. So this is by um let's go to average ratings. So this is sometimes misleading because you get a lot of art stuff
mhm.
that haven't been seen. So yeah, this is so Ripley, huh? Uh, I would say that Ripley actually has some new wave horror.
Awesome.
Would you say?
Yeah, I
Uh,
haven't seen it yet, and but I
okay.
love Andrew Scott, so that is definitely something I'm gonna visit here soon.
The Emmys the nominations were just announced, and I think he has a chance here. I'll just put my ratings. So yeah, Shogun. Speaking of which, I do
So
watch a lot
excited
of
for that.
documentaries too. So yeah, there's Ripley's Civil War. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
a lot of
Shogun got 26 nominations, which I think was the first for, a film that's in another language. That was
the
really
roast of
cool.
Tom Brady. Um, yes, I did watch it. All right, based on films I'd like. So, yeah, okay.
So that's interesting.
I'm not really excited for Horizon.
Do you
So,
watch a lot of Lonesome Dove, Aaron, in your free time?
I don't. And the thing is, it's incomplete, and that's one of the critiques I've seen is that, I mean, if after 3 hours it's left you wanting, can you imagine? Have you seen The Human Condition by Kobayashi? I think we've
No, but
talked
I
about.
really want to.
So I can't imagine watching part one, waiting a year, part two, and
Mhm.
then part three, because I think of them as the same film, but they are kind of a mini series. So I might wait 3 years for this. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And I'm surprised he didn't, that Costner didn't do it as a miniseries, or something he released, maybe
Right.
even once a month, like have a new installment.
So yeah, of course, since I watch a lot of documentaries, there are so yes. One Love is interesting. Um,
Mm,
yeah, the first Omen, I guess that's kind of blending modern and classic horror. So
mhm.
so yeah, let me find so I won't go by my interests. Film length. Okay, let's go to longest first. Okay.
These are
Well,
probably some TV series.
yeah. Okay. All right. That's not gonna help. So let's go back to most popular. I guess all time. Well, actually, let's go to last month, this month. So yeah, so not no surprise, Long Legs. I think A
Mhm.
Quiet Place might be considered horror. And In a Violent Nature, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I've heard a
So
lot about
here's
that.
yeah, of course, Furiosa is not a horror, but have you seen Under Paris?
No, no, was it good?
I didn't finish it. I logged it. Well, as you can see, the average rating's 216. So I wasn't feeling it, so I
Yeah.
didn't finish it. There's
Yeah,
Love Lives
I didn't
Bleeding.
even bother. Yeah,
Yeah, I heard this was
Love Lies
terrible.
Bleeding looked like almost in the same vein as Drive with its neon and its the style of soundtrack. So I'm curious to see. And I love Kirsten Stewart, so
Hmm. I've heard Lisa Frankenstein is okay. I haven't heard much about Immaculate. I don't think I've heard great things, but yeah, this is where I think there are some more. I'm not sure about Abigail. I think there are some more uh, of these kind of movies coming out. So Federer's definitely. I mentioned I like tennis, but it's not a. Or this was Drive Away Dolls, which we talked about. Not a horror. Yeah. So the
Roadhouse.
no, well, we're really getting a lot of shark films this year. I don't know if
Right.
maybe that's because of our Jaws thing. I heard
Mhm.
Unfrosted is a train wreck, so I think that's where
Cool.
we call it a
Yeah, I
day.
didn't.
Uh, I'm just gonna look, um, see where to watch this. So,
Apple
so
TV.
okay, it's on
Oh,
Max.
it's on Max. Okay.
I didn't know that. That might be a brand
I
new thing.
re-upped with that just for House of the Dragon. So
That's right. Yeah, which is not a horror, but I think it's a good series. But yeah, so I might be watching that sooner rather than later. But all right, well, let me stop. It's been fun getting into this with you.
ooh, thanks for
I
having me.
yeah, so listeners, watchers, viewers, subscribers, whatever, feel free to talk about this. This might be something. So we are going to do a 2024, a best of 24, a free journey towards the end of the year, and that will dovetail into award season. So I don't know if we're going to have a anything in this. I'm sure we'll have some A24 in the conversation. I think we always do, but yeah,
And I
I'm
think
trying to
for
think.
award season, Nosferatu comes out on Christmas Day for
There you
Robert
go.
Eggers, and that
Yeah.
looks really good.
Yeah, I I don't always love the idea of remaking classic movies. Some people have tried and failed. Eggers, I trust. I think that well, they actually did make Shadow and the Vampire with Willem
Yes.
Dafoe. I'm not a direct remake, but kind of a a peripheral, more of a kind of like a um, behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah, because
So
it's about the production, right? But
was
well,
yeah.
yeah. So I remember seeing it, but it's been too long.
All right, well, good talking to you, and
Yep.
thanks everybody.
You too, Aaron. Yeah. Thanks.